The sun was already sinking behind the red cliffs of Arizona when Sheriff Cole Barrett reined in his horse by the dusty creek. The desert wind whispered through the mesquite trees, carrying with it the faintest sound, a cry, trembling and desperate. He frowned, his instincts kicking in. Years on the frontier had taught him that when someone cried for help in the Wild West, trouble was never far behind. He dismounted quietly, hand resting on his revolver. "Who's there?" he called, his voice low but commanding. A rustle came from behind the rocks near the water. Then, a woman's voice, shaking, fragile, yet filled with courage, broke the silence. "Please, help me, Cowboy. They stole my clothes." Cole froze for a moment, unsure if he'd heard right. He stepped forward cautiously, eyes scanning the rocks until he saw her. She was huddled behind a boulder, covered in nothing but a tattered blanket, mud streaked across her face, her golden hair tangled and wet. Fear shimmered in her wide blue eyes. "Ma'am," he said softly, removing his duster coat and offering it without question, "you're safe now." She took it, clutching it around herself. "Thank you," she whispered. I didn't know who else to call for." Cole nodded. "Who did this to you?" Her name, she said, was Lila Monroe. She'd been traveling west with a small wagon train, searching for work in the town of Redwater. But on the third night, the men she'd trusted turned on her. They took her horse, her belongings, even her clothes, leaving her to die in the desert. "I walked for miles," she said, her voice breaking. "I thought I'd never find anyone." Cole clenched his jaw. Redwater wasn't a town for mercy, it was ruled by greed, whiskey, and men who thought law and decency were for weak folk. He helped her onto his horse, his heart heavy. He'd seen too many like her, innocents crushed by the harsh lands of the frontier. That night, they reached a small cabin on the edge of Redwater Canyon. It was Cole's place, humble, safe, and hidden. He lit a lantern and turned to her. "You can rest here, Miss Monroe. No one'll find you without my say-so." Lila's eyes welled up with tears. "Why are you helping me?" He hesitated, his gaze drifting toward the flickering fire. "Because someone once helped me when I didn't deserve it," he murmured. "And I learned something that day, kindness out here is rarer than gold. When you find it, you give it back." The next morning, Cole rode into Redwater alone. He had one goal, to find the men who'd hurt her. He asked around the saloon, the stables, and finally, he found them. 3 outlaws, led by a man named Tanner Briggs, a gambler with a cruel streak. "Sheriff Barrett," Tanner sneered as Cole stepped through the swinging saloon doors. "You lookin' for trouble again?" Cole's voice was calm but deadly. "I'm lookin' for a lady's clothes, horse, and dignity. You and your boys stole all 3. The room went silent. Men stopped drinking. The piano player froze mid-tune. Tanner laughed, leaning back in his chair. "You think we'd waste our time on some tramp wandering the desert?" Cole's eyes hardened. "Say that again." Tanner stood, hand brushing over his holster. "You ain't got proof, Sheriff." Cole moved faster than a rattle on a hot rock. His revolver was out before Tanner even touched his gun. The shot echoed through the saloon, splintering Tanner's whiskey glass as it flew from his hand. "I don't need proof," Cole growled. "I got her word, and that's enough." The message was clear. Tanner and his men would return everything they'd taken, or face the same justice Cole had delivered a dozen times before. By sundown, Lila's horse and belongings were back at the cabin. Over the next few days, Lila began to heal. She helped Cole mend fences, cooked meals, and slowly, the haunted look in her eyes began to fade. One evening, as the sky turned pink and gold, she said softly, "You didn't have to do all this for me. I was just a stranger." Cole smiled faintly. "Out here, we're all strangers, till someone chooses to care." She looked at him for a long moment. "What about you, Sheriff? Don't you ever get tired of saving everyone but yourself?" He chuckled quietly, but there was sadness in his eyes. "Maybe I do. But seeing you smile again, that's enough." Weeks passed, and word spread of what Cole had done. Redwater's people began to whisper about him, not as the lone sheriff with a cold stare, but as the man who still believed in decency when the rest of the West had forgotten it. One morning, Lila stood by her horse, ready to ride on. She wore the same dress she'd arrived in, but now it was clean, mended, and worn with pride. "I have a job waiting in Silver Creek," she told him. "But I'll never forget what you did." Cole tipped his hat. You stay safe, Miss Monroe. The world'll try to take your soul. Don't let it. She smiled through tears. I won't. And if you ever come by Silver Creek, I'll have a meal waiting. Cole watched her ride away into the golden horizon, her laughter echoing faintly through the canyon. He stood there, wind brushing through his hair, a faint smile tugging at his lips. For the first time in a long while, the Wild West didn't seem so lonely.